Hi YouTube, it's now January, and depending on where you live in the US, it's now time to start planting seeds. I love that time of the year when the Christmas supplies are put away and the gardening stuff comes out at Home Depot and Walmart. It's my favorite time of the year. If you also look forward to that time of the year, then hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I have 3 varieties of onions that I'm planting this year. The first one is a ruby red onion. The second one is a Southport white globe onion. And the last one, I'm not sure honestly how to pronounce it, but I think it's called a cipollini onion. And depending on where you live in the US, there are different varieties of onions that you need to be growing. If you live in the southern part of the United States, that's called a short day onions. And then if you live in the middle, it's called an intermediate onion. And then the top of the country is called a long day onion. This whole channel is about living life frugally. And I have read a lot of articles where people say, you know, they spend $10 to grow a tomato that they could have bought at the grocery store for $2. And there are a lot of people that spend money on growing vegetables and they go out and buy the plants, but there are cheaper ways of doing this, and one of them is to start with seed. And we're going to talk about a couple things that I do to save money and still grow vegetables and that don't cost $10 to grow a tomato. Now you will need a raised bed or a clear plot of land to grow your onions, but that's still a ways away. In a lot of areas the ground is still covered with snow, but we're going to concentrate on just starting the seeds today. So the supplies that you will need are, for beginners, the onion seeds. You can pick these packs up through most places like Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart. I buy my seeds from a company called MI Gardener online, and they actually, if you buy $12 worth of seeds, they actually give you free shipping. But you can go to Home Depot, Lowe's, and Walmart to pick up some seeds. The next thing that you will need is seed starting mix. You just can't go and buy like a bag of topsoil. You should really buy a bag of seed starting mix. I am going to insert pictures of 2 seed starting mixes. The first one is Jiffy Seed Mix, and you can usually buy a bag. It's I think 12 quarts for around $5 or less at Walmart, and that's what I was using in the past. The next one is called Pro Mix. I bought that for the first time last time, and it actually is a really big bag. I think I paid like $13 or $14 for it, but it's a large container. I'm actually using my leftover seed starting mix from last year because I did not even use all of it up. There was so much of it. So it would definitely be more than enough for someone that's starting a big garden. So if you're just starting out small, I'd probably suggest getting the Jiffy Mix. So when it comes to containers for your seed starting, you do not have to go out and buy a lot of containers. I actually use this container here is actually what I bought mushrooms in from Costco. So you can use mushroom containers, berry containers. I actually have used a berry container in here. Also, I do have some seed starting containers also, but they are definitely not required. And the really good thing about onions is that you can plant them in a container like this. You don't need to have little sections. Onions will grow together in a clump, and when they're ready to plant, you will be able to divide them up. They separate pretty easily, so it's not a problem to grow them in a container like this where they're all growing together. The last supply that you will need is a tray like this. I picked this up at the dollar store. These are the aluminum foil trays. I just made sure that they had a flat bottom because some of them have a raised bottom. So I buy the ones that have a flat bottom. So I think the dollar store is now $1.25. When you put your seed starting mix in these containers, you need to make sure that you thoroughly wet the seed starting mix because it's very dry. So you want to make sure it's wet. So this has been soaked in water and it's pretty wet. I mean, it shouldn't be obviously too wet, but it does need to be wet because it will be completely dry when it's in the pack. And the best benefit of having a container like this is that you are going to do what's called bottom watering. You are not going to water once you put the seeds in the container, you are not going to water the seeds from the top. You are actually going to pour water in the side of the tray. You just kind of want to put enough water that they can soak it up in about 10-15 minutes, not so much water that they're standing in water. This way the seeds are not disturbed and they can continue to grow without water moving them around. So the next step is basically putting the seeds sprinkling the seeds on top, and then, like I mentioned, bottom watering them, and then I will be putting these under a grow light, and that is something I'm going to cover on my next video, is my grow light setup, which is also done on the cheap, and it's probably, I'm going to say about $15–16 of a setup, and will allow you to grow a lot more than just the onions. I hope you enjoyed this video. I love sharing tips on how to keep more of your money in your own pocket, and I hope that you will like and subscribe to my channel and help me out with the YouTube algorithm.